Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Supercoach360 Round 5. We're up to now. Today we've got with us Burgs, who's doing gymnastics down the bottom there. We've got Rossco, who is who is of course braining it this week with nearly 700. How'd you go, Rossco? What bit you in the arse there?
Oh, mate, I stuffed up my VC loop. The kids were pounding me to get out of the house and go to the beach, and I had everything. I thought I was going to sit at home and watch this game. I'll have plenty of time, and then got to the beach and just completely forgot about it and didn't take Stoinis off the field, and already had Nook Coulton Isle on the field. I already had another player who wasn't playing on the field, and realised Josh Brown was out, and realised that I couldn't bring anyone else into the game, so I could VC loop Hussein. And if I had have done that, I would have copped a donut in my batting, which would have been better off anyway doing than captaining Nisa. So that's what bit me in the ass this week. But I still got 698. Moved up to 777, lucky sevens. So I'm not going to complain too much, but it could have been better, a lot better.
Very nice. Burgs, how'd we go? Better week than last week?
Yeah, actually, only just, but I got a 656. Same sort of things. I had NCN still playing, but I was lucky I got Hooly Doolies 67 or whatever out of that, so that was okay. But once that happened, I was stuck with it. I couldn't do any loops or anything down there, not that anyone was worthy. And then getting Matty Wade the other week, I sort of like probably should have sold him last week once I found out he's ruled out and got him back later. But now I'm in a bit of a conundrum with what to do this week with him. So I'm thinking of just holding him, using him as a bench loop for this week. But yeah, and then I captained Matty Short. I sort of broke his run. But yeah, and other than that, I just haven't been doing the right moves. I got lucky though. I kept Rosso on the bench. I nearly swapped him for Hales with about 10 minutes to go before lockout, so I got lucky there.
Very nice. I didn't even hit 600 this week. But I'm still somewhere in the 300s, I think, ranked overall. But yeah, it's a bit of a shocker. Unfortunately, I had Rossau on the field. Of course, didn't even get to play. I was down the beach and I missed the news on Stoinis, so I had a couple of non-players floating around there. But I think everybody had a very tough week. A tough week for most people with their captains. A lot had Nisa, a lot had Jai Richardson. So Burgs, Matty Short is actually not the worst one. He was actually one of the better captain's choices of the week. I think he might have outscored Sam's even. So if you didn't VC Hussein, then you were really fighting it uphill from there. A lot of people VC Hussein and did very well. So let's
not to mention those who played, those poor blokes who played in the V who bowled 3 overs and scored 0. Shout out to him as well for all those who played him.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, I'll throw up to Rossco. Rossco, we've got a few Supercoach changes probably coming or dramatic things to do with the test. Now, of course, the test looks like Cameron Green's out of Sydney Test. That's going to make some changes because I've heard that Turner's going to join the squad. So big changes there at the Scorchers probably coming up. Any chance you reckon of Connolly maybe coming in as a bat bowler to replace Turner? That could scare a few people with their VC loops, etc.
I don't know if it's going to be Turner. I think it was Turner mentioned. I think it was actually that they were talking about. There's also talk about Aaron Hardy as well. So there's a good chance. I don't know if Connolly's going to come in. I'm not too sure. There's a good chance he could come in, but I don't know what they're going to do yet. It's obviously not going to affect this round because the next test doesn't start till the 4th of January. So if you do have Nisa or you do have Agar or you do have Hardy, I wouldn't be worried too much about for this round because they will play this round anyway. Because especially the Heat playing tomorrow night, the test is obviously still going to be going. So I wouldn't be going and trading anyone else, especially Nisa. I think he's a hold if you can hold him with a break even of 4 as well. But we'll speak about him later on, probably when we go through the buy, hold, and sells and stuff.
What about Murphy? Fair bit of talk about him probably joining the test squad as well, believe it or not, from the Sixers. Would you be going anywhere near him with this double?
No, no, just too much unknown with the Sixers bowling lineup. There's too many options there with the bowlers. Realistically, for me, the only ones who would probably safe is Abbott and probably Kerr. The other ones, Bird, Stephen O'Keefe, Murphy, all those other blokes, Naveen, and all that probably could be rotating at some stage between both the games. So I probably would go near any of them, to be honest with you.
Yep.
O'Keefe limped around a bit after his 4 overs too, like the other night.
Yeah, I'd
I
be
think he
very
shot on
surprised.
something.
I'd be very surprised if he plays tonight, to be honest with you. It's a short turnaround.
Yeah, I'm certainly not going near any of those Sydney spinners at the moment. Yeah, I want a bit more certainty. Playing a bit more conservative for me. Now we've got a few buys on this week. We might as well jump straight into our buys. I did put up a little write up on the 360 Facebook page. Go check it out, people, if you want. Most of my buys were really centered around the double gamers. I thought Richardson at 140k. No Dre Russ. Dre Russ has left the country, so they're really short a death bowler there, which I thought Richo, they've probably rested him in order for him to play these two coming up. 140k death bowler. I thought it was a no-brainer. An interesting one which is one I know a lot of people sold him at one point, but if you don't have Hales, I think he's 109k with a ridiculous
break even at -34 or something too.
Yeah. Man, he's cheap. Jump on that. Like that's some good stuff to get into, because if you're pondering between him and a Patterson or a Vince or something like that, you'd much rather go Hales, even though those others have got a double gamer. I don't necessarily think Hales will outscore them in a single game easily, potentially, compared to a Patterson playing on a double game. Your thoughts on buys? Who wants to go first?
Rossco, you go.
Well, for me, obviously the ones that we haven't spoken about. Obviously, if you don't have Abbott and you don't have Kerr, you probably want both of them in your team. If you're deciding on one or the other, Kerr's about 12k more. Has the form on the board at the moment. So if you're deciding on those two, I'll probably lean towards going Kerr just because he's in a bit more form than Abbott is at the moment. I don't hate the Moses Enriquez buy this week either at 99k. Batting at 4, obviously not bowling, but we know what he can do. And obviously Philippi's the other one that we probably should be looking at too, even though he's not really great form either. And the one that I'm really looking to take a bit of a stab at this week is jumping on to Guptill this week as well. I know he's 160k, but we've seen what he can do in the past, and I think he's one to definitely be looking at this week.
Yeah.
Well, he should open, shouldn't he?
Yeah. First drop, I think, or first drop or open.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah.
I've got a choice between him and Kerr this week. Who would you go?
I'd go Kerr. Just because he's got the batting and the bowling. He's got both. Bowls death as well. And bats are in about the 7 too. So, yeah, I think he's probably the way to go.
Kerr didn't even get a bat the other night, took the 2 wickets.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where it got him the other night.
He's batted all the other games before that. I actually think he's a good shout out for VC loop for the VC this week as well, Kerr, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, that brings us to a funny point here. This round has the Gades and the Sixers both playing each other twice. Is there a danger that they can rob each other of points? It certainly leaves you without really any VC loop option, really, because most people, you really want to have a stab at Hussain or something like that as your captain.
I think that you want to be looking at matchups when particular times when bowlers bowl and who they're going to be bowling to and working it out from there, because I don't think this is the round to be stacking up on Sixers and Renegades players, given that they play each other twice. It makes no sense to me. I think the max you probably want to have is 5 to 6 players out of those two teams this week. I wouldn't be going any heavier than that, just for that reason alone. they're just like you said, they're going to take points off each other. Look at the matchups, who's potentially going to bowl at who, where they bowl at the start, they bowl at death, all that sort of stuff. You need to, if you really need to be looking at stuff like that, have a look at, those players' records at certain grounds and against left-handers, right-handers, all that sort of stuff, like you really want to have a look at it. I mean, it's to be honest with you, outside Hussain this week, I think, and Kerr, I think that's pretty much a lotto for the other players who you could bring in this week. But I think those two you need to have in your team this week. But the others, you really need to look at it a bit harder.
And any love for Sean Marsh?
He's not on this week, though, is he?
He is. He is.
Yeah, I think he is.
Ooh, I could change.
And only about 120k too.
Well, I'm thinking of anti-podding Hussain and getting Sean Marsh. That's just me,
I think you've got to have Hussain. I think personally you have to have him.
Yeah.
Does that mean that Hussain will drop down the batting order by one and maybe not be such an attractive captain's option?
Depends. I don't know. Look, we spoke about this yesterday on a different pod, and we're trying to work out what the Renegades lineup is going to be like because we're not sure. Like, I think we know roughly 10 of the 11 players who's going to be in the team, but I think that last spot's going to be between Harvey or David Moody or Sutherland for that last spot. So really depends on what they go with. I mean, you can wait and see what the teams come out first. Obviously, they play first game. Have a look at the teams first and see where he is. But, batting's not his real strength at the moment anyway. So, yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about where he bats, to be honest with you, whether it is 7 or whether it is 8. But, do you anti-pot him this week? They've got a double, but he has a break even of 120 as well this week, and he goes in a couple of rounds after the bye too. So, something to think about, Burgs.
Yeah, it is.
Another one you just mentioned there, which is unbelievably over 30% owned, is Will Sutherland. He's burnt me prior. I will never go near the man ever again as far as Supercoach goes. He's one of those ones. Once you get burnt, sometimes you never want to go back. But he's only 55k, and if you're fighting for money, he's not the worst pick you could throw in there, is he?
A lot of people he was very highly owned at the start of the season. He was over 30% at the start. I don't even know if he's going to get a game this week, to be honest with you. Obviously, check the final teams first. But if he does play, there's a good chance he should bowl more overs this week with Dragon. But they have got plenty of bowlers too. So I don't know how much he's going to bowl. He's 3.6% have traded him in this week. He's in the top 10 most traded in this week too, Sutherland. But just keep an eye on final sides first. I don't hate the Hanscom trade in either. I know he's going to bat low, but you can move him around between keeper and batsman too, and utilise him as well.
Yep. No, very good. All right, ourselves this week. Actually, on the holds, we'll start because there's a couple there which are going to draw a bit of comment here. And Burgs, you're going to have to think about this one. But Matty Short, I said that Matty Short is probably a hold. I'm holding him only because I view him as a season-long keeper. I'm not even worried about what he costs. I'm just going to sit him there and just hold him till the end of the season. But I can see some people, he's a highly sold player this week. I still view him as a hold, not a sell. But what do you think?
Well, look, I have this conundrum because I've got Matty Short myself, and all week I've been thinking in my head he's not injured, so there's no point. He's only missing 1 week, and potentially next week comes back and outscores a double game week player this week anyway. I was going to go to Hussain with his money, but I have worked out other ways to get Hussain. At the moment, I'm benching Matt Short myself just because he's a form competition player. Like, it's hard to sell that guy, like if you're selling that guy in the back of your head thinking that he's going to have a form slump, you're better off waiting for the slump to happen rather than predicting when it's going to happen, if you catch my drift.
Yeah. No, 100%. In my mind, it's sort of almost like selling Nathan Cleary when he's just going to, he's just spelling for 1 week and coming back the following week. Why would you ever do it? You wouldn't do it. So what are your thoughts, Rossco, on the Matty Short one? You hold or sell?
I'm holding because I've got enough cash sitting around that I can make the trades I want to make without selling him, but I can get the sell because it's a lot of cash to be sitting there. It depends if you want to keep him for your VC loop as well. Not just your not VC loop, but bench loop. But I can get trading him out. I mean, if you've got him sitting there and you don't have Hussein, I can get doing that. And Hussein should make enough cash where it'll be a straight swap to go straight back to short next week if you want to do it as a 1 week play. If you need the cash, then yeah, I'll get doing it. If you don't need the cash and you don't need to move him on, I wouldn't. I'll be just hanging on to him. But all I can say is if you are going to sell him, you want to have him back next week. His next 3 games before his double, 2 of them are at Adelaide and 1's at Hobart, where they're short boundaries. He's scored plenty of runs at both those bounds and good chance he bowls 4 overs in all 3 of those games. So trust me, you want to have him back if you sell him this week. He is currently the second most sold on the list this week at the moment. So about 6% have sold him this week already.
I'll tell you what, people, that's a cracking thought that Roscoe's got there. Those next 3 games, he got, Hobart, that's about as paradise half the time with those short boundaries. And we've seen what he can do in Adelaide. So that's a great point there. So that probably seals your deal there, Burgs, if you can hold him. It sounds like he's a bit of a hold. My next one is Nisa. A lot of people have been selling Nisa. I'm holding another one that I've sort of earmarked as a hold. What are our thoughts?
Well, number 8 on the list, 3.3% have sold him at the moment. I don't think you can, go much off last night's game because every bowler got flogged last night, like Hales and Duke were just hitting them like beach balls out there. You know what I mean? So break even a 4. I'd be holding if I was you. I mean, I know that there's been a lot of talk about him getting into the Test team. Even if he is recalled into that team, he still will play tomorrow night for that game. So if you can, I'd be holding him if I could. Just keep a hang on to him. He should hit that break even. If he goes large, and you miss out, he could be up to. He's at 155k now. He could be up to 170, 180k next week, and that could be plenty. That difference between you getting another, premium player back in next week.
100%. You holding, Burgs?
Oh, for sure. Hales opening 2 rounds. He got 20 after double games. You know what I mean? Like some people take a minute to get their feet, and last night that they'd had their feet found last week. If you catch me drift, like maybe not Jilks, but Hales he's found his World Cup form again. And he's just out there pounding it. So yeah, I think for me, Nisa's done his job. If you didn't watch Nisa that first game, and then last night the whole team got battered, it wasn't just him. Different if it was just one bloke copping it, but the whole team copped it. So those are other things you got to look at too. Like his quality, he's Australian representative player.
Yeah,
takes wickets at the high.
It's no different to what I said the other day on the pod when I said about when that game between Stars and Scorchers, I think it was at the that little minefield where all the bowlers got smacked there. Like it's the same thing. You can't, because a bloke gets smacked for 50 and doesn't get any wickets. If he's a class bowler like these days, he's always going to bounce back. You know what I mean? Like you can't let that deter you from making a trade. So yeah,
I can't recall what game it was. I think it was one of the Sydney games, if not the Sixers. It was the Thunder, but they were playing on the furthest pitch over, so the boundary was only 50 meters away.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And it was like did you see that game the other night?
Yeah, I think that game last night certainly suited the spinners more than what it suited the pace bowlers. I mean, we saw Chris Green bowl 4 overs, straight up front, and bowled really, really well. And same with Quadir, he bowled really well too. So yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about that. If I was going to be getting rid of anyone from the heat from last night of the bowlers, I'd be getting rid of Steckity for sure, though.
Yeah, well, that brings us into sells. I've certainly got, I've got Steckity written down as a sell, and nearly 180k, only just a couple $100 short of 180. I think he's got a break even of about 80. which he might not. It certainly, the maths tells you to get rid of him. Another sell I had in there, which is actually I don't think I put this one in there, but I'll throw it open to you. Jai Richardson, very high break even. I think it's about 140, isn't it? 130, 140 break even for a single game. 210,000, just near 210, 208,000 or something. What do you reckon, Rossco? Are you going to sell or hold him?
I don't own him, but purely just for the fact that the game's at, I think it's at Optus, isn't it? They play home. I'm pretty sure, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'll be. Well, if in that case, I'll be holding. I think you could get that break even pretty easy. He only needs to get a couple of wickets, and he can get that. So, yeah, I'd be holding. Surely there's someone else in your team that you can sell before him to get someone else in that you need to get to.
In saying that, you can bring in the best of the best with his money. You know what I mean, and have that for the double game.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any best of the best other than Hussein and Kerr, you know, that you really want to be definitely jumping on this week, though, Burgs, to be honest with you. Maybe if you're going to one of those two, yes. But surely there's other options in your team that you can get to one of those two without selling Richardson.
What about Ty? Would you sell Ty?
I sold Ty last week. But also sold Sam's last week too. And kept Stickety, so I can't really comment at the moment. Stickety I held because he had a break even at 10 and he couldn't even get that.
Yeah, he lost $100 or something. Yeah, so at least he didn't cost you a huge amount. I'm the same.
Yeah. That was great. 9 points between my captain and Stickety last night.
Thornton is another one. Thornton over at Adelaide. He's about 210K, I think. Now this is one that probably is a sell. Yeah, I just don't see a value. He's got a fairly high break even, so I just don't see it there really. But
sell him, build the money, get him back for the double.
Yeah.
No, 100%. All right. So what are we thinking about our captain's choices? I guess most people, I haven't had a look at the stats yet, Rossco. I'll let you have a little look there. You might tell us who the most captained are today. But I think I wouldn't mind betting it's Hussein. I've certainly got the captain there at the moment. I don't see the VC captain's loop this week as really, it's not going to work out because the Sixers, the two double games are playing each other, which makes the VC loop a very hard prospect to try to get right. That means you're going to be relying on a Sams or somebody to go well in the second game if your VC fucks up. So what are your thoughts? As I said, what are you doing, Burgs? Who you VCing and captaining?
Look, it'll come down to whether or not I bring Hussein in. If I bring Hussein in, I think the smart play is just straight up captain him. If I don't bring him in, I like Tom Rogers. I've captained Tom Rogers in previous seasons, and he's done well for me every time. Him with a double game's pretty juicy. I know he doesn't really bat much, but if he's the guy, he's a gun bowler. If not, I might look at Kane Richardson because, like you said, Brad, that the last couple of weeks they may have just been resting him, getting him ready for when Dre Russ goes, and then Hussein goes in round 8. I think the same time Khan goes. So he's sort of it is a smart play to rest that man, and because he is a good deaf bowler. You know, he takes wickets at the deaf. I think he does bowl one in the power play too, even. So he tends to take wickets.
What do you reckon, Rossco? What's your captain, vice captain there?
At the moment, my VC is on Hussein. I'll probably stick with that, I reckon. May look at possibly going a pod one, depending if I bring Guptill in or not. And then my seat at the moment is on Bo Webster, but I don't know if that'll stay on there or not because Stoinis is probably back in the team this week, which means Webster may not bowl. So I'm just going to pick a VC first and then go from there and watch the first game and decide whether I'm going to activate the VC loop or not. See what I do.
Yeah, it's a real hard choice for coaches. You got to choose this week whether you're going to go straight up on a captain in that first game, which is what I think. But have you got any stats there on who's the most picked captain, Rossco?
I don't because I don't have gold, so I can't check it. But we'll post it. I'll get the information and I'll post it up on the page.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll get that. But I don't know, Brad. Do we need to be going straight C on anyone this week? We can get a free look basically at your VC this week though.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but the problem is if you go, if your VC, if you don't go straight on somebody in that first game, right, you're really missing out on, like, you're going to rely on your 1, 2, or 3 single game players that your team has. Because that's about all most people will have, about 3 single game players. So you're either going to be relying on your Nisa, your Sams, you know.
Yeah, but say for example, Hussein, right?
Yeah.
You go him, right? You put this VC straight on him, right? Say he gets injured or something, and then he doesn't play the second game. You know, at least by having the VC on him, you get a look at him, and then if he does go big, then you can just activate your VC. You know, you put a captain on one of your Hurricanes or one of your strikers players. You're basically getting a free look at the loop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I get what you're saying, but it's the same result either way you go. You know what I mean? It's a risk going straight C. I thought about it too, but the more I think about it, the more I think I don't think I'm going to do that.
But if you don't balls up, you're taking away your opportunity for a good bench loop then.
Well, a lot of it is going to depend upon your bench, certainly.
Yeah.
I've got a couple on my bench that are going okay. I think Hats is going to be sitting on my bench in the bowlers, so I don't think I'm going to lose too much by bringing in Hats Alogaloo. I think he'll probably keep playing at the moment, the way Perth are going. He's filling his role there, and he seems to get about 40 to 50 points every week. Pretty consistent.
I was actually surprised that he played that game the other day at home, and he bowled 4 overs. Yet the game before that, they were on a spin-friendly pitch, and he only bowled 1 over or something. I think it was.
Yeah, that was a very weird one. That was, I couldn't figure that one out myself. It's a bit like trying to figure out Brisbane's bowling attack sometimes.
That was, exactly right. They had the second game of the double. Kuhnemann was by far their better bowler of their spinners out of him and Swepson. Swepson bowls 4, including 1 in the surge, and gets absolutely smoked, like he did last night. And Kuhnemann bowls 2 overs, and he was probably their best bowler.
Yeah, and your best death bowler in Steckity, well, you bowl him out 4 overs from the end and make Baisley bowl out the last over. You go, oh, well.
Exactly, I know.
Oh, my God. I couldn't figure it. But, Perth gets a bit confusing. But the one thing you do know is Ty's going to bowl the death, and he'll also bowl one of the power play. So, and same with Richo, you pretty much know where they're all going to fit into the mix. All right. So
I know we haven't got much time left, Brad, but I just want to quickly touch on 2 players who are in the top 10 buy-ins at the moment, because I want to get your input on this, because I think these are, absolute ludicrous trade-ins. I mean, I can see this first one, a lot of reverse trading happening. David Mooney at the moment, he's the most bought in this week by 8% of teams as number 1 buy. Now, I get that he got 3 wickets or whatever it was like the other game, and there's no guarantee he's going to play, and there's no guarantee even if he does, he will play both the games. Do we both agree it's a bit risky, even at 82K?
It's crazy. It's not just risky. It makes very little sense. Because we just spoke about what bowling riches the Gades are sitting there. The Renegades are sitting at. They've got a wealth of riches in the bowling talent. And if you're considering whether it's going to be, it could be Will Sutherland, it could be Moody, there's another one there too on their fringes, isn't there? So, it would just be a no for me. But
this other one.
Yep.
And this other one too, just quickly, because I know we're running out of time, is Matt Jilks. 3.1% of people have traded him in this week. Number 10 on the list.
We reckon Burgs of that one.
They haven't slept since Christmas.
All been drinking since Christmas.
Go to bed, guys. Jilks is a day.
They're way too jacked up, and they haven't slept, and they're just Yeah, no, that's
It's the same as the Moody thing. They've seen 100 points last week and gone,
Yeah.
oh, look at this
Chasing
guy.
it. Chase it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a common thing, you know.
well.
But yeah, we do have some questions.
I better get into them shit quick.
What's that?
We've got 2 minutes to do the questions.
Oh shit! The questions go.
Sean O'Verrett, is Rogers good for the double game week, or Kane Richardson take the def overs off him?
Get a coin.
They're both bowl def overs.
Get a
Yeah,
coin.
I think they do the same. I say they do. Dylan Bartley, is Naveed gone? And Dre Russ both gone.
Good. Yeah, Dre Russ is gone. What's Naveed? What do you reckon, Rossco? What's happening?
Naveed leaves around about round 8, round 9.
Yeah, I think he just had a terrible night last night. Matt Gibson, best Sixers batting option. Is it still Philippi? Looks a bit off this season.
If you don't have Kerr, Philippi is definitely the best option. Up behind him.
Yeah, I'm backing Philippi in. So he's open. You know, yep.
Yeah, I'm getting him too. And Vowsy, is it worth holding the Stoin? He's got 113k in the bank. Upgrade Larkin, or he thinks he might go off soon.
No, I would be for 59k. I wouldn't be selling.
Yeah, I'd just hold. G'day, Vowsy. He's always been. He always watches. We know that. Thanks, mate. Yeah, I'd be holding definitely on the Stoin. Yeah, it's not much value in moving him on.
Yeah, agreed, and that's the whack.
All right, thanks for the questions, guys. We always get quite a few. Sorry we didn't get to everything there today. Good luck this week. Get your trades in, get it all happening, and we'll speak to you just before New Year's for the next round. Thank you.
Later.
Peace.